Hello folks, VIDIUM once again, and what I'm gonna do now is that I'm going to make a video response that I was supposed to do a few days back, but I didn't have the chance, on MaximumRD topic. There can be only one. I've been seeing the video responses to his topic, and they are awesome. The topic is that which is the video game system that is not the one on the current ones, the Wii, 360, PS3, DS, or PSP. Which of the older system, if you only have the opportunity to just own one, to have one, or whatever, which one will it be? What will be the specific video game system that you really will want to have from your collection or the system you play, whatever. And I started to watch some of the videos. I haven't seen them all, but the choices are very unique. There are some people that choose the PlayStation 2 and all that stuff, but I'm gonna go just a little bit back into a little bit more retro, and is the system that started the 16-bit genre, and it is the Sega Genesis. If there is no other system that I'm gonna be allowed to play or to own, it has to be the Sega Genesis. I even asked my wife to see which one she will pick, and she picked the Sega Genesis. I'm gonna tell you, I love Nintendo, I love my NES, and I love my SNES. And I had numerous of gameplay time, hours spent on those systems, but in the one that I spent most of the time was on the Sega Genesis. For some reason, I had more fun on the Genesis than any other system, and the two top game system in which I spent more hours playing is the NES and the Genesis. But I spend more hours on the Genesis. I remember when I got my Genesis, as I said before, on my Genesis video. The first game that I played was Altered Beast, but as soon I got my Genesis, started to rent games. So I spent a lot of hours playing Street of Rage, Golden Axe 1 and 2. 2 is my favorite. Spider-Man. I'm trying to get my hands on that one, Spider-Man for the Genesis. I played so many games, and I spent so many hours on the Genesis. My first Street Fighter 2 game was the Genesis version, although I played first the Super Nintendo versions of the Street Fighter 2. And there were so many things for the Genesis. Many people say that the Sega CD was a flop, and the 32X was a flop, but I actually love the Sega CD. So all the things that I actually throw in the Genesis was awesome. Even the controllers. I remember I had a controller for my Sega Genesis, which was 3 buttons. It was a regular controller, but it had turbo, and it had a turbo switch for each of the buttons, and the controller was black. It was a very fat controller. The D-pad was yellow, and it came with this small piece of plastic which you can actually put on top of the D-pad and make it on a joystick, which I never used. And the buttons were painted in green, blue, and pink. And the controller was awesome because on the back of the controller it has 2 holes in which you can actually fit your top fingers, your fingers, and you can actually put your hands like this, and these 2 fingers will rest inside those holes, and it was very comfortable. And one of the things that I love about the Genesis is that the Genesis came with the earphone jack, and you can actually put some earphones, put it on the Genesis, and play and hear everything right in your head, and you didn't bother anyone else. The only problem is that the earphone cord is always small, so you have to be very close to the Genesis. But the controller actually had an earphone jack on the bottom of the controller, so it served as an extension cord for your earphones. And I actually could go to my bed or sit more in the back and keep playing all my favorite Genesis games and use the earphones directly to my controller. Uh, when I started to rent games, I rent a lot of NES games, but when the Genesis was available on rental stores, and I went with my best friend to rent games, he ended up renting more NES and Super NES, but for most of the time I rented Genesis games. Sometimes I would rent 3 games, and perhaps all 3 or at least 2 of those 3 games will be a Genesis game. And I play so many games I cannot remember many of those names. A Quackshot, which I mentioned before. I spent a whole vacation playing Quackshot with a friend of mine, and man, that game was awesome. A Disney game, and it was awesome. Other games oh god, Street Fighter Rage series 1 and 2 and 3, awesome games. There are so many things on the Genesis, so many hours that I spent on my Sega Genesis that it is crazy. I had a boxing game that actually my brother is the one that has it, which is called Chavez 2, a game named after Julio Cesar Chavez, Mexican champion, which for some reason I just learned on Wikipedia just a few weeks ago that that game was named Chavez in Mexico, but he had another name in the U.S. I don't remember which one, but I played that entire game, and the fights were real. There were 12 rounds long, 3 minutes each. So I played a fight every day. It's like it wasn't. I was going to a boxing match, and until I actually beat the whole game, it took me like a month or 2 months. I do not remember how long to actually beat the game. But I love boxing games, and NBA Jam. I played so much time NBA Jam. And for some reason, when games were available on both systems, on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, for some reason I had more fun playing the Genesis version. And the games were, when they are ports from arcades, the Genesis version, most of the games they were made for both of the system, but most of the time the Genesis version was the closest to the arcade for numerous reasons. For some games were little things, but for the rest game were notable, very noticeable things that I actually found out since I played so many hours on the arcades. So if there's gonna be only one, it has to be the 16-bit Black Mean Machine, the Sega Genesis. See you later.